What's up, everybody? And we are talking 1988, one of the best years in hip hop, and maybe the best year in hip hop history. Let's talk about it, you suckers.
Gotta live for today and forget about the past. Fighting with yourself, fighting with your life.
What's up, everybody? And we are back. It's been about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks since my last video, the Busta Rhymes review, which is still getting rave reviews. Salute to you, Busta. And we are doing something a little new, talking years in hip hop. And today we are talking one of the best years ever, maybe the best year ever in hip hop, 1988. We are talking about it. Is it the best year in hip hop history? Why do some people say that? It's the golden age. Why do some people say that's the golden age or that's the best year? The debut albums, the classic albums, just the history that year holds in hip hop history is crazy. And so yes, just to let you guys know, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. You guys are going to have jokes on the comments. My team is sorry this year, so this will not be the last that I hear from you guys on that. So let's talk about it. 1988. I mean, I have it on my phone, on my notes, just because there's so much and I don't want to get anything wrong. But we just going to go over what I feel it needs to be talked about and what dropped that year. So we have the Ghetto Boys, Scarface, Willie D, Bushwick Bill. They dropped an album, Making Trouble. Biz Markie dropped Going Off. Fresh Prince dropped their He's the DJ and I'm the Rapper. Boogie Down Productions, you kind of hear me in the intro, kind of take from that. They dropped their By All Means Necessary. Run DMC, Tougher Than Leather. Audio True dropped an album. EPMD dropped Strictly Business, their first album. Big Daddy Kane, first album he dropped. Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation to Hold Us Back. They dropped that legendary album. Eric B. Rakim, second album, Follow the Leader. NWA dropped their landmark album, Straight Outta Compton. Salt-N-Pepa dropped an album, so one of the best female groups, one of the best groups ever, and most important groups to music and not just hip hop. 2 Live Crew dropped an album. Eazy-E dropped his album. MC Lyte dropped her album. Marley Marl dropped an album. MC Hammer dropped an album. Ultramagnetic MCs dropped Critical Beatdown. Slick Rick dropped his debut, The Great Adventures of. Jungle Brothers dropped their album, Straight Out the Jungle, which gave birth to De La Soul and Tribe Called Quest. And let me see, what am I missing? Anything? I mean, for worth noting, those are the albums. Now, let me talk to you guys, and just, I mean, you had Public Enemy take their album and drop that year, and NWA dropped that same year. Looking back at that, and I was only 3 years old in 1988, but just if you really think about that, look at two of the biggest groups of music history. Socially conscious, two different approaches to that. All the types of people who spawned from that, and the things that spawned from those two albums dropping. And Straight Outta Compton and It Takes a Nation. I don't know if there's ever been a year where two of the most important rap albums ever dropped. I mean, just what those two albums mean to hip hop and music and culture and society it cannot be said enough. Just what it means for those albums. I mean, hands down. Then you lay on top of that, you put krs-one with his album. You put Rakim with the album, and Kane, and Slick Rick. So then you put 4 of the best MCs from the 80s. The only one that you don't have is LL Cool J and G-Rap. Other than that, if you're talking about the 80s, Rakim, the best MC of all time, you can argue that. But during that time, Paid in Full and then Follow the Leader, people were saying Rakim was God. krs-one dropped, Criminal Minded, and then followed it up with that album. So then you got NWA and Public Enemy over here. At the same time, you got ultra lyricism with Kane and his debut, storytelling with Slick, street activism and just raw with KRS, and then the God Rakim, right? I mean, think about that. Then you have two of the most important women in hip hop and music history, Salt and Pepper and MC Lyte. What? Just for a year, to have that much in a year. Then the Jungle Brothers dropped, who gave birth to Tribe, who gave birth to Black Sheep, who gave birth to De La. Like, look at all these different acts going on. Look at, just the videos that were out. Think about it. Think about the videos that were out during that time. Groundbreaking songs. I mean, it takes a nation, and NWA still wraps in my head just how important those albums to come out in the same year. And this is why I think a lot of people say that this is the best, or maybe the most important year, if not anything else, the most important year in hip hop history. Like I said, I was only 3 years old. I do my homework. I've done my homework. And this year gave birth to so many great acts. For EPMD to drop their debut, that's, one of the dopest duos in hip hop history, Eric and Parrish, and for them to, come on the scene as youngsters and really kill it. Biz Markie, people forget what he meant to the industry. Run DMC, who are the icons of this, dropped Tougher Than Leather. They had Mary Mary, a couple other joints, and I don't think that was one of their best albums. But to think, like, all these other groups I named, and then you mentioned Run DMC during that era. Fresh Prince dropped an album during that same year. I think 88, 87, Paid in Full dropped. Criminal Minded dropped. I think Bum Rush's Show dropped. L Cool J dropped an album. I believe it's Bad. And I want to say Run DMC dropped an album. And there were a couple others. But what 88 is different. It's starting to be, hip hop now is starting to be different. You start to see different forms of lyricism with Kane and Rakim. I mean, Rakim had Paid in Full. I think he took it to another level with Follow the Leader and cemented him. Big Daddy Kane was already doing his thing with the Juice Crew. Now he's letting you know what he's about. You have Kane, you have Slick Rick. I mean, you have four of the heavyweights at the same time. Shit is changing. NWA dropped their album, Straight Outta Compton. One of the premier West Coast group of that era was NWA. And for them to come out when it's all East Coast music and just really kick down the door when Public Enemy was the pinnacle. Now look at NWA challenging who's the best group of that era. And that could be argued. And that just lets you know shit is changing as far as hip hop. More albums are dropping. More quality albums are dropping. More albums looking back at it that meant something. Ultramagnetic MCs, super lyrical hip hop during that time. And still, when you go back and listen, very landmark in the production and the lyrics on that album. And so, yeah, I mean, guys, what do you think is the best year in hip hop history? Now, is this saying this is my favorite year? No, this is not saying that. But what it is just saying that why do people talk about this year being one of the best ever, if not the best? And when you started off with Public, Ghetto Boys, come on, like, look at the stuff that's dropping, and all these are classic groups. And I mean, I might do a 93. I'll probably do a 95, 94, 96. I mean, there was a time that shit was crazy. 98, 99 with Eminem, Pun X. I mean, there's so many years to talk about. And I'm not doing an album review of albums, but just the year. And I think 88 might be the most important. I'm not going to say it's the best. But when you have Kane, to see what he did, to have KRS in his career, to have Rakim cement himself as the greatest of that time, to have two of the most important acts in music history, NWA and Public Enemy, and then with the women and the other groups and just all that other stuff in there, I think it's the most important year because I think it kicked down hip-hop door like, we're here to stay. Like, 86, 87, okay, now 88 is something different. And I think it was that was the year that was like, this is the greatest era of all time. That year made people say from 87 to 88, 89, those were the 3 best years ever, or this is the era. So, I mean, tell me what you guys think. I have my favorite years, and I'll talk about them in another video, but until next time, you guys take care. Peace and love. 100. I'm out.